Hey, it's Mary Beth Shaw. I'm back for an almost live, and I've got an almost idea today for almost live. So let's see what we can do with this. This is something I have been wanting to try, and I don't know. It's like I have it in my head, but I don't know if it's going to work on paper. So you know how I do the mad scientist stuff? Well, this is kind of like that, but not really. So anyway, let's take a look and see how this works. My idea is the combining of stencils, okay? And I mean, it's such a simple concept. Basically, you just have stencils and you use them, except you combine them in ways that they weren't intended to be combined. So I'm going to get some Post-it notes to block off some other areas of the stencils I'm using. I just have a stack of stencils here, stuff that I like, because I figure if it's something that I like, if I like them all, they'll all probably go together. And so that's what I'm thinking. All right, so I'm going to start out with just this section right here of this stencil. And I've got some black gesso here. And I have, remember these from back in the day? I don't know if they still sell these. I used to get them at Joann's. I'm thinking maybe they do. I love it. And it was a pouncing tool I really liked, and I don't know why I got away from it. But Tim Holtz has a similar pouncing tool where you can actually add a new sponge. And I like the idea of that one too. So I should have one of those laying around. God, Tim is so sweet to me. I should always use his products. Always, always. Here's the little lid to his. It has a little wood base, and I don't know where it got to on my desktop. But anyway, that's a great sub-in because it's the same concept. It's that domed pouncing thing, which it doesn't give you the hard edge, which is so great. And anywho, all right. So I just did that. Great. Now I'm going to take some other sections. I like this stencil a lot. This is fairly new. It's by Pamela Beer, B-E-E-R. And I love the way it looks. I sought her out to be a stencil designer because I saw her doing stuff online, and I really liked it a lot. And basically, she was doing this sort of symbolism in her work, and I was like, these should be stencils. Hello. And that's kind of how I am. It's like I know when I see it if I'm going to like it. So I'm going to take a few of hers, like I've just done here. Now, I had a little bit of over pounce here. We'll call that over pounce instead of overspray. But we can deal with that. We shall deal with that later. Now here's one from Tina Walker. So I wonder how this would work in. So here's my idea. My idea is that you work in black and white. This is mixed media paper with gesso, permanent pen, permanent Posca pen, something like that. Or a variety of all of the above, which I think is what I'm going to do because that is what I like to do. So now I'm going to attach part of this Tina Walker stencil to the Pam Beer. Okay, there's a little piece. And then I'm going to do a few little pieces over here. I was thinking that if you did stuff like this, it could either provide kind of like little parts that you could work in and you could embellish, with Zentangle or doodling, or you could cut them up and add them as collage parts to other projects you're working on. I'm just not sure, but all I know is that when I create things like this, I always just love using them or pulling them out and putting them in a journal spread, or even cutting them up and putting them in an actual piece of art, or who knows what. I just think that the more you shake it up in your work, the more interesting your work becomes. And also, the more you make your work your own. Because when you do this, especially if you do several different stencils, good grief, it's all going to be so different. You know, no one would figure out how you maybe did it, and it definitely is something that becomes personal to you. And for me, see how that looks? That looks cool, I think. For me, that's what I strive for in my work, is something that is personal for me. Now here, I kind of want to cover up those lines, but I don't know if I'm going to get to it just yet. We'll see. Let's try it right here. I have an idea. Haha. One thing that I believe always makes your work interesting is the addition of line, like we're doing here. And this is line, right? Now, variation in line, thick line, thin line, this kind of thing is very important and very interesting, and definitely brings the line up to a different level, right? That's what I strive to do with my work. Now, I kind of want to use this Posca, but this has this honkin' tip. This is the honkin' tip Posca. I don't think that's what they call it. They call it a 15.0 mm tip. So I don't want anything quite that fat, but I don't want anything quite this thin. So let's see what I have that's in between. This is an Identi-Pen. I got some gesso debris on there. All right, so what I'm going to try to do now is connect the two areas that I have going on. I can't wait for some of you to try this, because I have a feeling that some of our followers who've been around for a while and have large stencil collections are gonna knock this out of the park. Because I think that this whole idea gives you such opportunity to push the boundaries. And so here we go. Now, I have a few marks down here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just create my own marks, because really, you know, what's it matter? And then let's turn it and look at it from this area. Create those. That's where you can see how, you know, I seem like I'm all gnarly and like push the edge, push the boundaries, but then I get kind of disciplined at times. Go figure, right? And I don't like it to, you know, I don't like random marks. Now I am unclear as to whether I can use a Posca to stencil with or not. I'm gonna try. This is a club stencil. It's actually this month's club. This month meaning, what month are we in? We're in June of 2023. So I know some of these videos live in perpetuity. So you may be watching it at a different date. And look how messy that got. Okay, guess what? You can't really stencil with a Posca, but I'm gonna keep trying. So anyway, if you're in early June, if you're watching this in early June of 2023, you can still join club and get in on this stencil. This is a Carolyn Doobie, and I am rather smitten with it. Okay, although what I did right there does no credit to Carolyn whatsoever. So let's actually move this over here. Let's just sit that down there, and let me put the lid back, and let's connect here. This is a cool stencil. It has so many different parts and interesting elements in it that it's one that I know I'm going to reach for over and over, because, I mean, look at that, how it just made that great line right there. Oh, bonus, and look at that right there. All right, this makes me think, let's do this. Let's put this down, and I'm going to reach for a clean brayer and see if I can get a brayer to bring that design through. I'm intentionally, oh yes, look at that. Look how clean that brayered through there. Nice, nice. And then this one's a lighter one. And then these two just look like big black blobs. But you know what? There's always a place for a big black blob. Say that 20 times fast, right? Yeah. So we will figure that out. And in fact, we might figure it out right here, because look at this. You could take this and I have encircled the black blob, so I can go back and I can color that or do whatever I would like to do with it in another color. This is another one of these Pamela Beer stencils. I'm excited to be able to work with them. I think I was out of town when they first came out, and I didn't get to play with them at all, so this is kind of exciting. I think I'll do this one over here, down here, and encircle the other blob. If you made a blob on your own piece, you could choose to leave it in its full blobbiness, or you could take it into a different direction like I'm doing. But I don't know if you're starting to get the idea of what we're doing here and if this is appealing to you or not. For me, this is something I really enjoy doing, is just getting a big old pile of stencils and connecting the parts. I find it to be so fun. All right, I'm going to use the edge line of this one. I'm going to go back to my thinnest pen. This is a Sally Hurst stencil that I love, and I just connected that right there. I'm going to put some shapes down below these Carolyn shapes. It's almost like Carolyn and Sally Hurst stencils kind of got together and created like-minded things, yet not, right? And that's the thing I love about stencils in general, is that everybody who designs for us has their own special voice and their own, you know, their own way of designing, their own way of drawing, and I love that. I really, really love that, because when you buy a Carolyn Dubie stencil, you are jumping into Carolyn's brain a little bit. When you buy a Sally Hurst, you're jumping into Sally's brain, or Pamela Beer. These are great artists, and I'm so proud that we can offer their stencils. They're very, very cool. All right, so there's that and that. And I have to say, as these blobs dry, they're intriguing me, and I think I want to work with them a little bit further. All right, now we've been somewhat angular here, and here's a Cecilia Swatton that's not at all angular. It's very organic. And well, first of all, I don't know if it's going to fit on our page or not, but let's try taking it up towards the corner. I like the idea of doing that with these parts right here. So here is my message to you. 1, buy stencils. Ha! You knew that was going to be the message. And then use them in your own way. Use them together, apart, however you choose to use them, to develop your own ideas. Like for me, I'm going to take parts of this, I'm going to color them in, I'm going to embellish it more, and then I'm going to cut it up and use it in my art, in my journals, and take it further. So by the time I'm finished with it, it is not even going to be the same thing at all, and you would be so hard pressed to figure out that there was even a stencil involved. Okay, so let's take this blob right here and make this blob more intentional. Every time I make a mistake in my art or I do something that I'm not thrilled with, I always go, how can I make that look intentional? How can I do something with that that makes it look like, oh yeah, that's what I meant to do? And that's kind of what I'm doing here by adding everywhere there's a little blip or a smear or something that just didn't go right. Well, that is, in the words of Carolyn Dubie, she says, oops, opportunity. It's an opportunity. And, you know, I've always been that way myself. She coined that phrase, which is genius, and it is so true. You make a mistake, you figure out how to fix it. Look, this blob is turning into something very nice and very intentional, in my opinion. So get some stencils, get a piece of white mixed media paper, get some black pens, and just play around for a little bit and see what you can come up with. I bet you will surprise yourself, and then you will have some very interesting graphic component parts to use in your work. Thanks for watching. This is Mary Beth Shaw, StencilGirl Products.